Hi, and welcome to the Dual Match Framework screencast. I'm here to guide you through my new asset. And the first thing you will need is actually Lean Tween and GUI. It uses those two, so be sure that you have it imported along with my asset. And when you have all three assets ready, you actually notice an error. If you're new to Lean Tween, you actually need to put their provided plugin folder into the main asset folder like this, and you will notice that the error will be gone. So if you go back to the main folder of my asset, I actually prepared 3 documentations which you can take your time to read. Most of all the explanation is there hopefully, and if you still have more questions you can actually email me or contact me. It's listed down below in the readme section if you look for it. Next, I actually want to guide you through how to make a new scene. So we can go to the scene folder and actually perhaps create a new scene. So this is a new scene, and how I would go about it is actually to go to the prefab folder and just drag the already created UI root over to your hierarchy and delete the main camera. It's as simple as that. When you open it up, you will notice that most of all the required game objects are all there already, especially the game manager panel. So if you hit play, by default it's already running. I would just like to add that the gameplay that you saw just now was a bit laggy because my comp couldn't handle the recording as well as the game running at the same time, so don't worry about that. The game is actually very smooth. And moving on, I actually want to show you the game manager script. If you use the UI root prefab, all the required fields have already been pre-assigned, so you don't have to worry about them. If you need to know more, they are in the readme provided shown earlier. And if you would like to customize an individual board, it's very easy. You would probably need to take note of this current field, which is the num of active type, which actually means how many types of gems are active during a game. So at the moment it's 3, and if I set it to 9 and play, you will see up to 9 different gem types. So, and if I change the value to 1, you will see only 1 gem type. So it has a maximum gems of 9 at the moment. I'm sure 9 is more than enough. So you can set it anywhere between recommended 3 to 9. So I'll just give it a 5 for now. Eliminate pre-start matches, because each board setup is random, and this will help eliminate those matches that is already formed when you start the game. So if I click on that, the bot will not straight away kick off and start destroying everything inside that is already matched. So if I were to untick that, oops, yep, you see it straight away creates a match. And this option works best for 3 and above, although it does work for 2, but sometimes it may fail. I'll just give a demo, a short demo. So yeah, that's it failing there. Nah, it's not so good on 2. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So try not to use it when you have only 2 active types. Moving on, you can set the board width and board height. This is how many columns, how many boxes across and how many boxes long. So if I were to define 4 and 13, yep, it goes off screen, so you will need to adjust the camera if you were to make a really big board. As you can see, it's quite dynamic. Moving on, these are the drop speed of the gravity. So if I were to change this to a high number, you will actually notice that it will drop much slower. Ow. Although you can still make actions like that. The default value is 0.2. The refresh speed is actually how often the board checks whether there's a match, and it goes hand in hand with the game update speed, which is how often the board checks for the next possible moves as well as make the pieces drop. So all these are in seconds and will affect how fast or slow the game moves and how often the game requires to process all this information. So if you have a slow processor, you might need to put a higher value there so that it checks less often each second. The normal moves reset time is actually how long of a delay when the board has no more possible moves before it resets itself. So if I were to show you a board that most likely have no matches, this and the reset will take 4 seconds of a delay. It goes hand in hand with my animation of these normal moves. So if you were to change the value here, make sure you put an animation of the normal moves, which is synchronized with the delay that you specify here. And the suggestion timer is how long of a delay before the last player move, and it will start to suggest the next possible moves if the player is stuck. So if I were to show you an example, if I don't move for 5 seconds, a piece will start to blink, signifying that this piece can move and would help the player. So there, so this piece can move. And the gem switch speed is actually how fast the gems switch around when the player moves it. By default it's also 0.2, but if you take a higher value you will switch much slower. So wow. So all these values you can actually adjust and make a unique game if you like. We can also set the gravity. By default is down, but you can make it go left if you want. Alright. You notice that I changed it during the game, so it's that dynamic. So if you were to customize your own script, you can actually change the current gravity into something else dynamically while in game. I haven't written a script for that, perhaps you would like to. So you can actually play around with different kinds of gravity while the player is playing, as well as all the other speed. So if I were to change this value to 1, so all these values are quite dynamic. So any changes will reflect what the player will see when he's playing. So that is basically all that is required to make to set the board. All these are actually prefabs of up to 9 different type of gems. You don't have to touch them if you don't want to, or you can rearrange them, but when you rearrange them, please make sure that they are in the correct order. Like the first one is green, so match type 4, green line 1, green line 2, and green power, followed by the orange, so it's orange line 1, orange line 2, and so on, etc. As well as the back panel, the frost panel. Concerning the panels, these are all also dynamic. So for example, a shaded panels, I have listed down 5 different prefabs here, and it's in an array. So if you actually increase the size of the array, the default strength of the shaded panels will differ. So if I were to set, currently there's 5, so you need to hit it 5 times before the shaded panels disappear and turn back into a normal panel. Moving on, I have the match type here. So there's up to predefined 6 match types. This is 4 in a row. This is the T type, which is the cross type, as well as the T type, or the L type if you will, as well as the 5 in a row and the 6 in a row. You can turn these off and on as you like. So if I were to say only T-type power, and if I were to play the game, you will notice that only the star will be created and no 4 in a row and so forth. As you can see, there's no special piece that is formed. So you can turn this on and off by your will as you like. The custom animations are animations played when a special piece is triggered. At the moment it's only for visuals, so the visual has nothing to do with how the game manager reacts to the game pieces. So I have already pre-assigned the horizontal arrow as well as the vertical arrow, but I didn't really come up with anything good for the star animation and the bomb animation, so they are just destroying with the normal destroy effect. What I would like to show you now is actually the board layout. This is the one that you will most likely be using the most. So it's depending on your board size, this can be really big on this inspector. So I actually created a separate window for it. It's under Windows, Match Framework, Editor window, and you will see the exact same thing. So, and this window you can resize it as you like. If you were to click it and you haven't selected the game manager panel, you will see this instead. So it will tell you to click the object that has the game manager panel, so make sure you click it, and then when you click back on it, it shows again. So there's 2 panels here that can show and hide. The first panel is just textures. This has nothing to do with in-game. These are just for your reference, because I can't get the NGUI Atlas sprites to sync with the inspector, because sprites are using coordinates, whereas textures are just using the texture image itself. So these are just for your reference in the pictures here. If you do change the panels in the panel script, you will notice that it will update, but those that does not have an image will become a text instead. So I don't really have an image for empty because it's supposed to be empty. That's why it's listed down as empty here. You don't have to touch this if you're not modifying the script, but if you do modify the script, make sure to modify all the scripts related to it. And time is running out, so I would actually need to make a part 2. So stay tuned for part 2. Thanks.